Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher. Turn to the teacher.
And welcome back. I'm Mike with the Turntable Teachers, and class is back in session. Here for another guest speaker episode at AOA Studios. If you're an artist, creative, podcaster of any kind, make sure you hit us up. Head to our website, www.aoastudios.org. We're holding a special on all of our services, and I am joined by a very special guest today. He came all the way from Providence, Rhode Island, originally from Dorchester, Massachusetts. Everyone give a nice warm welcome to Derek Tyler. Yes. Derek, thanks so much for jumping on the Turntable Teachers, man. And I heard it's your first interview, so hopefully we hopefully we give you a good experience leaving here. So, yes. How are you, man? How's things? What's going on?
Doing pretty well, man. Like you said, that Providence drive is crazy, but I was honored to be here, to even be selected to be on this podcast. I did my research, and you guys are a startup. You were telling me a lot about it before we got on here, and I love to be a part of stuff like that. So once again, I do want to just thank you, for allowing me to be on this platform and, get my first interview out there.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. And I think it's well overdue. You've definitely, it was cool because I like when I come on to new artists. I always feel like, even when I've thought like, all right, I think I've found just about everybody there is to know in the New England area. Someone new pops up, and you were definitely somebody. You had reached out to me maybe a month ago, a little over that now, and and I was like shocked. I was like, oh man, this dude's talented as hell, and I don't really know much about him, so I was intrigued to have you on, and I appreciate the way in which you reached out, because and he wasn't just like, yo, check out my track.
Yeah, I feel like when you do things like that, it's like, think about if that was you. You don't want to hear that, especially if you're someone that's running a podcast. It's like, how many people are sending me their links a day? Like, come on, man. Give it a different approach, So that's how I like to approach things, especially when it's involving music.
Yeah, no, you were super cordial. Like, you seemed like you had your shit together, and like I just appreciated that a lot. So that's why I wanted to have you on, and you seem like a genuinely like good dude, and I liked a lot of the content you were putting out, and I think you have a wide range of creative talent. So I definitely wanted to have you on because I feel like you bring definitely a unique I think perspective that maybe we don't get often. This is the objective part of the podcast where we get to know a little bit about Derek. So with you, I know obviously you're from Dorchester, and you went to school in Providence, Johnson & Wales, graduated in 2020, and then you've been there ever since. So I'm really curious to kind of hear your upbringing with music, and I know for anyone for context that doesn't know Derek, definitely a R&B artist, soul, maybe bridging a little bit of pop here and there, but you definitely do a ton of covers. I feel like that's what really like put me on when you had reached out to me, and I had was doing my research on you. I was like, oh wow, you definitely bust out a lot of covers. But I'm just curious for you, like when you were growing up in Dorchester, like how did music really shape you, and how did you kind of get to that place where you decided like, all right, I want to start like actually making music and singing?
So originally, this is so weird, but when I was like 10 years old, I literally thought everybody could sing. It's so
really
weird because
I can't, so.
no, because I was in the mindset like I used to sing around the house. My mom, my dad, like even my brother. Sometimes they'd be like, "Yo, like you sound good. You should actually like start singing, like actually performing." I was like, I'm young at the time. I didn't really know necessarily where to start. But I did have a church at the time that one of my family members, ended up bringing me to, and that's how I really got started. With performing. It was actually from church. I did that up until 8th grade. From there, I kind of took a different approach with it because although, I loved going to church, I was really into mainstream music. Yeah. So it didn't really align with what I wanted to do. So from that time, I started doing talent shows up into high school. After high school, kept doing local shows outside of the area. But really, once I graduated, I started finding my own footing. Started working with artists in Boston, also in Providence. Just getting myself more out there, making connections. Every time I did an event, just making sure you actually stay in contact with those people, because you never know what type of opportunity it's going to present
100%.
in the future.
I completely agree. I think that that's super important. The networking piece is really everything, especially when it comes to like a place like Boston, really New England in general, that maybe doesn't get as much of the national shine. I think that's really important when you're networking around here. No, I noticed that you had definitely collaborated with some people that I'm familiar with. Like I know you had either at least one song, if not maybe multiple, with Clark. Clark D had done some of your production in the past. Shout out to Clark. He's doing big things down in Atlanta now, and he's a great guy, super talented. But for you, like when you were getting your start in Dorchester, like, and especially, with these covers, that you've done, like, when did you really start to, like, when was the moment for you? Like, if you can recall, do you remember like a time where you were like, I'm really going to start actually like doing this seriously? Cause I know obviously you had said, you were singing in church and things like that. And I feel like that's like not a lot, but that definitely, is some people's start where they, sing in church choirs or, talent shows, different things like that. But when was it for you where you're like, all right, I don't really want to start like covering songs?
I would say definitely around the time of 8th grade, for sure. I started doing it, but I wasn't too confident in myself, because I don't know if you know, like when you first get on the camera, you're just like, it's a whole new experience.
Oh, yeah.
After a while, you get used to it. Same thing with anything, but it just feels really weird at first, especially like when you don't really have an audience and necessarily the videos you post, only your friends are seeing.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to mold yourself into a person of, this is who I am. So you got to just get used to it, and you do it over and over again. And I would say as I kept doing it over the years, especially once I started getting into college, like it really started taking off for me. And I felt a lot more comfortable. Like if you go on my Instagram, like one of my top covers is a song to Bobby Caldwell's "What You Won't Do for Love." Mm-hmm. That was really something that I was like, man, like I bought my own camera. As you know, like I do photography on the side as well. And from there, I just kept using that, utilizing it. So I was like, I don't have to ask anybody to take pictures for me. I could record my own videos. So really, it was just something that happened over time, and I just got more comfortable with it over and over, like as I progressed with doing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's so funny you mentioned this, because one of a couple previous episodes, we had Senseless Optimism on the show, and Lily, one of her most recent songs is the Bobby Caldwell cover.
I did see that. I did see that. Yep. I saw that.
That's really funny you're bringing that up here now.
That's tough.
So,
he's a great artist, man.
Oh, 100%. He's very, very influential. Rest in peace. I know he just recently passed, but no, that's so cool, man. And then like for you though, when you were growing up in your house, like what type of music was being played throughout? Like you said, you sang a lot in the house. Like I'm guessing there was music being played.
I would say, man, a lot of hip hop, R&B. I got a lot of the pop from my mom, I would say. Okay. My dad is like a straight rap.
Straight rap,
yeah. Yeah, but my mom, like, she kind of gave me the pop element, I would say, which is what you would hear, like, with some of my songs, like Imagine.
Sure.
My most recent one, Time Is Right. It kind of has that element to it. So I would say definitely, like, just mainly pop, R&B, and hip-hop.
Gotcha.
Those are mainly the three genres that I heard throughout my household.
Awesome. And you were dead set on singing, like no rapping whatsoever? Because I know you. Well, unless I don't know if you can rap. I haven't seen you rap, but can you a little bit?
I can rap, but it just feels wrong knowing that I can sing. You know what I mean? Like I can actually rap. I have a couple of records that I've done.
Yeah.
Even if you listen to I did a song I believe a couple of years ago called "Knockin'."
Okay.
It's kind of like a hip hop, DJ Mustard type beat.
Yeah.
I got from one of my producers called Lyric Major. Okay. He's basically the one that kind of got me on that wave for a little bit. But if you listen to the song, it kind of shows a little bit of my rapping ability, even though I'm kind of singing. I would say it's like strapping. You're singing and rapping at the same time.
Definitely.
But I've done rapping before. It just doesn't really feel right to me at this time because I'm still trying to get somewhere with my actual voice.
Totally.
I'm trying to reach my highest potential with that. But it's definitely something that I'm open to in the future. Probably showcasing it more on tracks, but as of right now, man, I got this voice and I'm trying to go all the way with it.
No, it's so funny because I actually manage an artist by the name of Mako, and he, same thing, like he's a great singer, and that's like his really entry point. He does more like indie pop, but he can rap, and not a lot of people know that, and he showcases it like once a year, I feel like, but like he truly like is like, this is like the lane, the genre that I want to head in. So
exactly,
so you can do it, you just most of the time choose not to, unless unless the feeling, or unless you overwhelmingly feel as though you want to.
And don't get me wrong, man, like I can do it, but don't get me wrong, I would even say if you ask the people around me in my circle, like I probably listen to rap more than, like, as you see, like I got a Tupac shirt on right now. I probably listen to rap more than I do with R&B, but obviously I have a love for R&B and pop music as well.
Totally.
And it's something that, like I said, I want to explore with my voice, see different sounds that I can try, and get it as far as I can with my voice and my singing at this point,
Yeah, and I think too at this point, like in music, like in 2023, like there's so much genre blending that happens now. It's like there's really no set, like, quote unquote R&B sound anymore, or hip hop sound, or even rock or pop. Like there's so many of these subgenres now that's almost like you can mix and match influences and mix and match sounds, and like really not blink an eye. It doesn't you don't have to be, I think boxing I actually like that, because then you don't feel as though you have to box yourself in one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly.
And almost you can separate it a little bit. Like you can enjoy rap for what it is and not feel the pressure to rap, and then focus on more the soul aspect and R&B aspect of your actual like sound.
Exactly.
I don't know if that makes sense, but
it does make sense, and I know exactly what you're talking about. Like, perfect example is XXX Tentacion.
Yeah,
perfect example.
You covered a song of his a while back, didn't you?
I covered it was about 3-4 years ago.
Yeah, I felt like it was a while ago.
It was called Changes with him and PNB Rock.
Yeah,
like that's a perfect example. If you heard that song and then you listen to Look at Me, it's like a rage rap song. Like he's all about like just turning up in that song. But if you hear Changes, it's a ballad. It's like a completely different flip. And that's like what I want to bring to music. You know what I mean?
100%.
I don't want to be put in a box where I have to do one thing, which is why I'm still open to rapping. But at this point, I really just want to, focus on singing.
Definitely. I love that, man. That's awesome. In terms of you now being in Providence, so, talk to me about the scene there, because like I'm a little bit unfamiliar with like a lot of the ins and outs of the scene. I am understanding, or I've known that there is an artistic element to Providence 100%. What's it like living there now, and how do you maybe compare it to a place like Boston?
To be honest, it's not too different. It's like a mini Boston without sports.
Yeah.
That's literally what it is. It's literally like a mini Boston without sports. Like, I would say the music scene is just about the same out there in Providence. It's just that I feel like New England as a whole, there's no culture for music. There's a lot of people that do music. There's a lot of talented people. Like even you said, like there's always people that you're finding and you're like, man, I didn't even know about this person, but they're talented as hell. But I just feel like we in Boston, New England in general, like we just need to create a culture. Like there needs to be a sound in these areas. Like Providence, I've done plenty of shows. I got a couple of shows coming up. And that's like a perfect example. I did it last year. Like I found artists in Providence that I'd never even heard of. And I'm like, damn, they actually do genuinely have talent. As well as a show that's being hosted by one of my friends, Jay Calendar on Instagram is his name. He's doing a show in New Bedford. Like even that, like there's so many artists I've seen from his shows in particular. Yeah. Like he does a lot of open mics. Where I'm like, man, like we have all this talent, but it doesn't seem like it kind of goes unnoticed. It's weird. Like if you have that in New York, everybody's gonna know about it.
Sure.
And they could be the most average artist. No offense, New York, but I don't know. I just feel like we just need to keep pushing that, pushing the agenda, and eventually people will realize, hey, New England, we actually do have some talented artists.
Oh, 100%. I think what you're saying, I completely agree with you. I've said this before. I think it lacks infrastructure.
Yeah.
Like a musical infrastructure that, like, where if you're like, for example, and I think there's more. It's hard because in Massachusetts there is a ton of music platforms and podcasts and different things, and I think one of the things that that I would like to see us try to do is create some kind of infrastructure where, like, you have a song you're releasing or a big project, like you can legitimately go through a press run through all these platforms or many of them and feel as though that there's a reach there. You know what I mean? And I think that we're still building it. I think it's going to take time. I think social media has in a lot of ways helped it, but I think that like you said, I think still we have a long way to go in New England in terms of making it like a scene where people will be like, oh yeah, like that's the sound that comes out of New England. I think so much we get, like you said, I think we get looked at a little bit too closely to New York, and we just kind of get thrown in as like an East Coast. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that's the thing too. It's like I feel like artists here, like we do have a lot of big artists that have came out of Boston.
Yeah.
If you look back, I mean, I know this is a long time ago, but New Edition, Bobby Brown, huge artist. You would think like it kind of would leave more of a staple, but it doesn't. Even today, Coi Leray, we have Cousin Stiz, we have Millie's. I feel like those are really big artists, and they've like put a staple in the music game. But I don't know, it just kind of gets overlooked sometimes. I can't put it into words.
It's hard.
I just feel like
words,
it should be more of a, hey man, watch out for Boston, man. Look what they've produced. Like, I don't ever get that. You watch certain podcasts. I just don't really get that from them.
I understand.
I want that to be more ingrained in the at least in the New England area.
Yeah, even someone like Jordan Lucas too. I think a lot of people don't even remember he's from Worcester.
From Worcester, Mass.
I think the one person that does rep Boston and Massachusetts more than the rest, I think Millie's definitely does.
Yeah.
I feel like he definitely, like, even though he's in New York now, I definitely feel as though I see him really repping,
and I like that.
I do too. I wish more of them would, but also it's at the same time though, it's like, and this is up for debate, but like, what is their responsibility to do that? Like, should they feel obligated to do that if they don't? Because I think when they were coming up, I think the infrastructure now is better than it was 5, 6, 7 years ago in Massachusetts. But I think when they were coming up, there really wasn't as much of one, or it was way more underground than it is. It
must have been way more underground, especially for Millie's, because he's older. He's in his
right.
30s.
A lot of them are in their late 20s, early 30s.
Yeah.
Maybe Coi Leray is a little bit young. She's a little bit younger, but yeah, no, I think that there's a piece of that. I hear what you're saying. I think that makes a lot of sense. It's just I wonder how we change that. Like what is going to change that is the question. So I don't know. Who really knows?
Who knows?
Because Atlanta and Chicago, I think, both have really interesting scenes.
Exactly.
And I think, like Clark D's a beautiful example. Like he's in Atlanta now. Like you don't. I think hopefully I hope that there's a time and place where people don't feel obligated that they have to go. They have to like uproot their lives and move to New York or LA
just to like get something going.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You should be able to do everything you want from this area.
From where you are.
You know
exactly.
what I mean? And you see
and that you can go to LA and New York for various reasons if you need to, but you don't have to move there and uproot your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
yeah. And you can be a bigger fish in a smaller pond versus trying to be a fish in a large,
full of piranhas and sharks.
Piranhas and sharks. That's a good analogy. I completely agree.
But
yeah, that's awesome though. And you enjoy Providence? Is that like a place you've enjoyed living over the last 3, 4? No, you've really been there longer because you've been there for college. So really probably the last 6, 7 years you've been down there.
It really has. Yeah, it's been a long time. I definitely enjoy it. It's a very small, quiet little city. I would say definitely like really one of the best areas out there. I would say is Atwell's Ave, like Federal Hill. It's cool to like be there. I would say that's the most like jumping spot in the summer. Like it's one of those strips where like people will literally rent out Corvettes, They'll rent out Camaros just to drive down that one strip. It's so like it's crazy. I'm like, dude, come on now. You doing it and drive right back and forth like it's Miami Beach or something like. But yeah, I would say Atwell's Ave is probably like the most poppin' area for like younger people in the summertime. I would say maybe downtown occasionally, depending on what's going on. But downtown's really small there. But it's cool. Like I said, it's like a mini version of Boston without sports.
I think Providence has a lot of like uniqueness to it, and every time I've been there, I've definitely enjoyed my time there. But yeah, definitely even smaller. Like a lot of people I think say Boston is a smaller version of New York. So now you're really going smaller. But is there like a music community there, like an arts community that you've like and found yourself ingrained in, or like different shows that or not even shows, but like venues that are popular in Providence for music that like people go to often? Or
I would say for music in Providence, there's not like one specific place. I feel like one of the biggest areas they have there is the Dunkin' Donuts Center.
Oh wow.
Like they do a lot of things there as far as like games. I know they hold some hockey games there. I know they had some of the WWE cast come down there. But as far as like for music, it really just depends. Like sometimes they'll have stuff at the Strand. Like I know LMA was down there a couple of weeks ago.
Oh wow.
Performing. But I wouldn't say there's like a set venue, like as opposed to like Boston where it's like House of Blues or
Middle East.
Mansfield with the Xfinity Center or TD Garden.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't really say there's like a necessary like place all artists go to.
Gotcha.
It's usually just whatever's the best venue they could find at the time. Right. You know what I mean?
Or more like live bands and like
exactly.
dive bars and different things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like I was looking because I was researching. We're potentially trying to do a show out there with my team, and like the Parlor has come up a couple of times. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
Never heard of them.
Oh, interesting. It's it's somewhere in Providence. It's a venue. I'm not 100% sure, but I've heard it's got live music, or at least they have like live bands come in, like local bands come in, like even maybe like cover bands and different things like that come in on like weekends and whatnot. So yeah.
Another place that I did go to, I believe a couple of years ago, was 10 Rocks Tapas.
Oh, okay.
They're like a live music bar area, but like I said, I feel like a lot of people don't really come to Providence like that.
Sure, no, I understand.
If you're gonna come to the Northeast, like to at least New England, you're gonna go to Boston.
Yeah,
it kind of gets glanced over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say there's a set venue.
Got you. Understood. Well, it's really cool, man. I mean, I'm super, interested in like again, we haven't really had anybody from your area come on, so this is or the Providence area, I should say. So it's really interesting. Now I want to move on to the main lesson where we get to like definitely know what's going on with you right now in your career, and you just have dropped not super recent, but within the last couple of months you dropped a single called "Time Is Right." Mm-hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about that song for sure, since it's your most recent song. Actually, mind if we play a clip of it for the people?
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna take a quick break. This is Derek Tyler's newest single, "Time Is Right." We'll be right back.
I got a smooth one for you. Real smooth. Real smooth. Ooh, the time is right. It is my night. The time is right. It is my night. It's sweet right around the city. If I want it, then I get it. Heating up, baby, can you feel it? That's my motor, girl, can you dig it? Ooh, if you stick around tonight, I might just change your life. 'Cause tonight is the night, the time is just right. I'm feeling so divine.
All right, and that was "Time Is Right" by Derek Tyler. Make sure you check that song out. It's linked in the description. Stream that stuff. It's doing pretty well on you got a couple thousand or more than that. I think it's like up to over 5,000 on Spotify. I noticed it's doing pretty well. So tell me about this song. It seems like your most successful song to date. So curious, like inspiration behind it? And like really now, since it's been out 3 or 4 months, like how do you feel like now that it's really kind of been sat and people have digested it a little bit?
So as far as Time Is Right goes, first and foremost, it was like my first time ever singing over a beat where it's basically bass guitar a lot. As you know, like with my past 2 singles, Imagine as well, I've just really tried to do things outside of the box. So my mindset with coming into Time Is Right is I really wanted something that I could showcase, like basically my love for the 80s. I love like old school music. As you know, we spoke about Bobby Caldwell earlier.
Yeah.
I love like covering old school songs because I feel like it really fits my soulful voice. So that was a main inspiration behind Time Is Right, because I feel like I hadn't done that at all with any of my recent singles. But it was a beat produced by Lyric Major. And as far as the song, I just wanted something, basically that you could play in the summer with the top down, and it's just smooth,
It has that energy, yeah.
It wasn't really predicated behind any one individual or anything like that. It was just more so a feel-good song for people to listen to in the summer, whether you're, drinking a culotta on the beach or driving with the top down on a Camaro or whatever it is,
or a Corvette,
just a Corvette, yeah, just a feel-good song,
Yeah, 100%. Well, it's also available on our Spotify playlist as well. Night School in the Music, also linked in the description. So definitely make sure you guys stream that for Derek. It is a great song. I'm definitely enjoying it. Bumped it a couple times actually in the ride down to the studio to get it in my head for today. But I'm really interested to hear the sort of the change in your approach, because I know you had done you were doing a lot of covers. Have you always written your own original music along with it, or where was that like shift or transition for you? Where like, all right, I'm actually going to start songwriting versus just doing covers. Like when do you remember when that shift was for you at all?
So, to be honest, I've been writing songs for like a long time now. Like, I would say dating back to the end of high school.
Okay.
It's probably when I really started writing songs. And I'm so glad that I didn't release the music that I had back then. Because, guys, starting out as a musician, man, you're going to listen and record some songs. You're going to listen to those back and be like, man, this is trash. Like, it's gonna hurt your pride. But hey, when you look back and look at those songs and be like, yeah, this was trash, you're gonna get better as an artist. And I feel like that's definitely what I've done. I've had a lot of songs that I've held back, but I would say it's always been a mix. I've always been doing one and then doing the other. It's never been like, okay, I'm a straight up cover artist, I'm only doing covers, and now I'll start writing my own music. It's always been a mix, and I've always just kind of, try to give the people a little bit of both, if that makes sense, at the same time. Yeah,
and I wonder, like, does it keep it fresh for you in order to, like, do that? Like, is that something where, for the people, too, to kind of keep them guessing, but more for yourself, is that something to kind of keep things interesting and fresh for you, or?
I would say so, yeah, because sometimes when you're doing music, sometimes you can get lost in basically your own sound. I feel like with music, it's always changing. Yeah. There's always new people getting introduced. And, sometimes with music, you might have writer's block. You might not know what your next step is. You might not know what you want to do next. You might not know the next note you want to hit. You hear somebody else's track, you gain inspiration from it. Not only that, but you put your own spin on it. So, that's why I love doing covers and why I still do them to this day, because it inspires the music that I do myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I had an artist as well by the name of Lazy on last year in 2020. And similarly, like, she got to start with doing covers and still does them from time to time, but now mostly just does her own music.
Yeah.
And one of the things we had talked about, and I was curious to talk to you about it too, because when I was thinking back, when I was planning for this episode and thinking back to her, was like, I actually have the question here. I don't know why I'm trying to remember it. Is there something about covering songs and being able to like put your own twist on it that reminds you like to have fun and like not really feel pressure creatively? Or is there like a different reason why you enjoy doing them?
I would say mainly just putting my own spin on it.
Yeah.
I love hearing like the feedback of. I've had a couple of covers as well. Like recently, I did cover "The Essence" by Wizkid.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I love hearing people say, "Oh man, I'm not gonna lie, I like your cover a lot more than Wizkid's." I'm like, man, are you serious? Like, I'm nowhere near Wizkid right now, but I love hearing stuff like that because it inspires me to keep going. You know what I mean?
Sure.
And like I said, when you put your own creative spin on things, sometimes it'll give you creative, basically a creative thought to doing your own music.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering like how that overlap is, and that's interesting. That and that's interesting. People are really enjoying the Wizkid. That was the most recent one that I had saw too. How do you decide on what to cover next? Is it just like naturally just a song that you really really like, or is there like a process you have like when you're trying to figure out like what song to cover next? There's so much music out there.
I feel like for me, I would say more so, it's random. You know, if you hear a song that you like and you're just singing it around the house, you're like, man, I could do that. For me, it's random. I don't know how it is for other people. Other people might look at it and be like, hey, like, I know this song's trendy, it went viral on TikTok, let me just do it because of that. But for me, at least, it's got to be something where I'm feeling it at that time. It's got to be, I think I could put my own spin on this. Like I said, it's usually I only cover songs that I listen to.
Gotcha.
Like, I got to genuinely like it, because when I'm singing songs that I'm forced to do it, sometimes I might forget the words. I might just be like, man, I'll do this later, procrastinate on it. But it's got to be a song that I like. And mainly when I do that, it's just me around the house singing. And then I'll be like, man, I'm going to do this because I actually want to do this. Not because it's trending or, if somebody else went viral singing it, so let me sing it too. You know what I mean?
The Red live performance that you did for Time Is Right as well.
Yes.
I forgot to mention that one. So love that, by the way. Their visuals are fantastic. Big shout out to those guys.
Red X.
Red X. Yeah, really curious about how that came to be. And tell me about that a little bit. So
Red X, basically, I feel like I forgot how I ran across Red X. I think it was because TKO Sonye, he's another local Boston artist as well on the come up. Shout out you. I think I ran across his song called Domestic Girlfriend. It's a really dope song. And I was like, man, I could get on here. Like, basically, Red X, they have like a submission process of basically if they think your song is good enough to be on their platform, they'll select it. You submit it on their website. And they ended up contacting me a couple days after and said like, hey, we would love to have you on here. That's awesome. So I ended up doing that, and it was actually really different from what I thought when I got there. Like, it was literally just me and Matt Thomas. He's a photographer as well. But there's like so much editing and stuff that goes into things like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally different from when you're watching things on like YouTube as opposed to when you're really there. But when I saw the editing process come alive, I was like, man, this is like really dope. Especially like the way they were able to shade the background and stuff. Like, it looks completely different. Like, I'll tell you guys that when you see these things online, it looks completely different when you're doing it actually there. But it was a really great experience. It was like my first time ever doing something like that because I forgot the name of that platform, but there's a platform where they basically kind of do something similar to that. I forgot the name of it.
Is it Colors by chance?
Colors, yes.
On YouTube?
Yes.
Yeah,
I saw that and I was like, man, I really want to do something like that.
I feel like a lot of people are like, that was, I think, like the father of like that specific like aesthetic with just like the microphone either standing or dropped with just a blank color background. Because I know that I had another artist on as well, Chiz Capo, this year, and he went on Don Bruno's platform as well, Ripe Tangerines, and his is like orange background, so like all of his are orange versus the red one, like all theirs is red. So I think that that's becoming like a very like popular medium in a way to do it. But I think it's really interesting because it almost feels it's a very intimate way to watch a performance. It's not quite a music video, obviously, but it's really I think the aesthetic of it is really like cool. I think it's engaging to the eye, and I almost feel like the less is more element really shines, and it gives the artist an opportunity to like really perform it the way that they want to. And
exactly. And if you don't notice, like my past 2 videos have kind of been that way, which is like kind of going against the norm, because usually like in pop and R&B music, you get a bunch of guys, get out there, rent out a spot, get a bunch of girls come in, pool party, like it just gets so like repetitive at some point. And I'm really old school with how I do things, like I like guys like Ray Charles is like one of my favorite artists, Stevie Wonder. Like everything was just very different back then, but I really like that aesthetic from back in the day.
The simplicity aspect.
Yeah, it was so simple back then, man. Like you watch like a Michael Jackson performance, and it's like nothing to what you see nowadays.
Right.
When he first did like Billie Jean at I think it was like a Motown performance. It's like just literally him there and a mic, and he just got on the glove. Like nowadays, it's like I don't think anything's wrong with today's music. It's definitely cool to always add, but it's refreshing to see stuff like that.
I agree.
Which is why I appreciate artists like Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak for bringing that aesthetic back. You know what I mean?
100%. Oh yeah, their album that they dropped last year. Oh,
that was tough.
I said this on a podcast as well. I was so surprised at the pairing, but once you hear it, it makes complete total sense. Like it really does.
It was a very weird pairing at first. I was like Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars.
Same. I was like, this doesn't make sense.
But it went well. It went well.
They found a way. Trust me. Oh God, yeah. No, and I'm a huge Anderson .Paak fan. As you can see, you got Malibu literally right behind you.
Yes,
so
sir.
like I'm with the type of music that Paak makes versus Bruno Mars, like. Yeah, I thought okay, maybe there could be some overlap here, but I was like, I don't see it. But then they did it and they brought it back. They gave it that old school, like you said, like
Leave
almost 80s
the door
sound.
open.
Oh
my goodness, what?
My heart, bro. That fucking song. And there's actually another song on that album that I love that song for what it is too, but the one that gets me going is Skate.
Yeah,
I
Skate
love
is
that.
fire.
I love that.
That
shit.
could have been in Roll Bounce.
Yes.
I don't know if you've ever seen that.
Yes, I love that.
That could have
movie.
been in Roll Bounce.
Yeah, that definitely could have been in Roll Bounce. That would have been perfect.
But that's like I love that, because you just don't see that nowadays.
Yeah.
And that's like the type of artist I want to be. Like I feel like I've found like who I am as an artist, and that's the direction I'm gonna be going in.
Good, I like that, man. You found yourself. I feel like that's the way you want to push. I like it. I definitely want to get into a little bit more in the main lesson, but first it's time for a pop quiz.
Okay.
So on pop quiz, normally how this works is I'm going to give you a list of rapid fire questions. You're going to answer them as to the best of your ability. And and then we'll go from there. So you've said before that you have a quote unquote outgoing approach to R&B. What exactly did you mean by that when you said that?
So I would relay it back to basically my love for the old times, like the soul times, like James Brown, Ray Charles, Bobby Caldwell's one, Stevie Wonder, Michael Jackson. I really want that aesthetic to be brought back in my music. I really, really want people to see that, it doesn't always need to be a bunch of strippers in your video. It doesn't need to be a bunch of bottles popping. I mean, it's cool every now and then, but it's you gotta also know as well, like people are looking up to you as well. Like when you get to a certain point, kids is looking up to you. So you want to, basically be a role model, but also, still be able to get lit. And you could do that with being simplistic. So I feel like that's my outgoing approach.
I like it. Would I be wrong in saying that you're a basketball fan?
Hell yeah, I'm a basketball fan. What?
Who's your favorite NBA?
I'm
Sorry. Go ahead.
I'm a Celtics fan.
Same. All right.
Man.
All right. Should we talk about it? How do we feel about the this
That
past
just
series?
changed my whole mood, man. It gets to a point, man, where like usually when a team loses, you're like, man, if they just had another star or if they just had another role player, they like could get it done. But it kind of got to the point where it's like, damn, you guys just choked.
You had it all. And
Like what? How do you get better? You know, with what you have. That's how I look at it.
I agree. Because
It's like,
I'm hearing on the radio
damn,
right now, everyone's like, oh, like, do Brown and Tatum really work? And they need to change the roster. And like, well, I'm like, well, they kind of did that already. They brought in Brogdon. That was supposed to be like the last kind of piece that they needed, like a guy that could handle the ball under pressure that they were lacking last year, right? Because all the turnovers from last year. This year, it was just, I honestly felt like for me, it was just their inconsistency and their unwillingness to just kind of like just put their feet on people's throats and just like take them out. Like they just didn't really have that killer instinct this year for some crazy reason.
It's gonna hurt me to say this, man. I love Jaylen Brown, man. Like I love Jaylen Brown, but man, dude, does this team need some passion, and the thing is, like, you can change all these role players all you want, get different coaches, but at some point, you got to look at the top. You know what I mean? It's like, who has been here throughout all? I know they're still young. I mean, Jaylen Brown's 26, Tatum's 25. They're still young, but man, dude, you've kind of seen the same product over and over. And
they're like an Eastern Conference Finals, maybe Finals team every year. Like
yeah.
That's been their ceiling at this point.
And also
we have to accept that.
Also, you don't want your leaders to be like so nonchalant. That's one thing that kills me. Like, man, dude, if I lose like that, I'm gonna be heated on that presser. Like, I don't know, man. They're just very nonchalant, and I feel like that rubs off on your team. You being a leader like that, you know. So, I wouldn't be mad if there was a shakeup, but at the same time, I would also understand if they wanted to keep it going. But I think you're running a risk.
Yeah, I think you're running a risk either way. I think they're actually in a weird spot because you're right. Like, I almost feel as though if they don't shake it up, are they just kind of is the Eastern Conference Finals their ceiling, which is better than a lot of other ceilings. It's better,
but it's like, come on,
like,
man,
that can't possibly be the ceiling.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I would love to see Jaylen Brown's like. I think he's such a good speaker and he's so intelligent and he is really passionate about a lot of things off the court. I would almost love to see it a little bit more on the court. I think that would maybe help it. But
so strange.
And Tatum too, like they're
just it's a make him his league.
The nonchalantness, I completely agree.
It's like, dude, man, I just want to shake them sometime. Like, dude, like we're losing right now. Get your head in the game.
And then for them to do what they did, for them to go down 3-0. Come all the way back.
And then just not even lose. Okay, it's one thing. You lost the game, but it was very competitive, man.
I agree.
Hit a tough shot.
Yes.
And they beat us.
Yeah.
A
couple balls bounced the wrong way. I'm cool with that, too. I agree.
But to go out there and just, they just got destroyed. Game 7. Yeah,
and
it weren't even in that game.
There was a stat that they haven't scored that low points in, I believe it was 2.5, almost 3 years. Their lowest point total in the last 3 seasons was 92 points. They scored 84 in a Game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals when you were favored. And you came back from 3-0.
In your home building.
And especially after the Derek White putback, which was insane.
It was insane.
So, like, how does that not propel you? If that doesn't, you know what I mean?
There's a disconnect.
There's something wrong there. I don't know what it is either, and I agree with you. Like, I don't think changing the coach just like changes everything. I know Udoka, coach wise, was better,
he
but
brought them to the finals, but they
imploded in the finals. Yeah. So I was hoping that this was the year they were going to take that leap, but even in the Atlanta series, it never felt like it was really the same team. They should not have let
6 games with Atlanta is crazy.
And then 7 with
after
Philly
sweeping
was
the Nets last year. No bueno. That's why I'm more leaning on the side of Brown going. I don't want that to happen, but man, dude, does something need to change?
Yeah, I think you're right. I would agree with you. It's the attitude. It has nothing to do with the talent. They were the most talented team this year by far.
I would say so.
Maybe not by far, but they definitely.
I
think,
would say they're the best talented team on paper
Yes.
in the NBA.
Yes.
On paper, that's a key word. Paper.
Yeah.
You know?
The one thing that just drives me crazy with Missoula is a lot of the decisions on the timeouts and earlier in the series, and then not playing Rob Williams as much was strange. Like Rob Williams getting anywhere from like 15 to 20 minutes a game. Like it feels like he should be playing 25, almost 30 minutes a night. Like that was weird to me.
You got to understand also the type of coach Missoula is. I feel like he's trying to be the next D'Antoni. Like he loves 3-pointers.
Loves it.
Like
not a defense guy at all.
Yeah,
which
it's not really
you got to play
him.
some defense.
And that's why I'm like, did they rush the interim tag?
100% they did. No question about it.
You know, and it would just look so bad. You cannot fire another coach.
You can't fire him now.
But the thing is, you don't want to waste another year, and they might do that with Missoula as head coach. Mm-hmm. It's just that Udoka situation just
is so shitty. It's so shitty. I agree with you though. So for context, I've actually coached high school basketball for 10 years, and I played throughout high school, played a little bit of college, and I will say that when my team, the few times that my team over the years have been just not only blown out, but like we didn't even show up blown out, that's when I get some more pissed. I've always said to any of my former players that are potentially listening to this would attest that my whole thing was always, I don't care if we lose. If we give our best effort and we fall short, all good. All good. We pick up the pieces and we move forward. But if we just no-show, why did I even? Why
are we even here right now?
Why are we even here? Why am I coaching harder than you're playing? That should not. I shouldn't want this more than you, and that is like it in the start. Like I shouldn't want a championship more than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. Seriously, neither of us should want a championship more than Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. We shouldn't, and sometimes I feel like we do.
I agree for sure.
Anyway, this is a very long but awesome tangent off pop quiz. But I was curious who your favorite player in the league right now currently is.
Man.
Any team.
I wouldn't even say like a favorite player, but
or a guy you like to watch that you find interesting, and
I would say,
or a guy maybe you'd like to see on the Celtics. Maybe I'll try to.
I don't really have a favorite player, but a person's game that I love to watch is James Harden, even though he's terrible in the playoffs. Like I just love like his handle. He does have a nice handle. He drives me. He's one of my least favorite players in the league, though. Like yeah,
by far.
Understandably,
I despise
like
James
the
Harden.
things he says about his teammates, but I'm like, man, that dude is just talented. You know what I mean? Even though he doesn't perform in the playoffs, he's just an entertaining player to watch.
It's like a Kyrie situation. Basketball is an art. All time, would you say Kobe is your favorite player? I know you're definitely a Kobe fan, right?
I love Kobe.
Yeah.
I don't really have like a favorite player though.
Yeah, it's not your time.
You know what I mean? It's not really my thing. Even with like jerseys and stuff, like my Celtics gear, like I don't have jerseys because there's so much player movement.
I don't buy jerseys either for that reason.
I would say like my last player that I actually did have a favorite player at one point, and that was Isaiah Thomas. Yeah, of the Celtics.
Celtics, Isaiah Thomas.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
fun. I felt the passion out there. Our team wasn't even as good back then.
Oh, not even close.
Like, dude, we had Jay Crowder, Amir Johnson, Avery Bradley, and luckily got Al Horford in free agency.
Brown wasn't even playing at that point. He was only a rookie.
He was coming off the bench.
Yeah, he was barely playing. Yeah.
But you felt it. Like, I just don't feel it out there. And you have a way better roster.
Oh my God, it's not even close.
Come on,
it's night and day.
Man.
It's night and day.
But I would say
he was fun.
My last favorite player was Isaiah Thomas.
Cool. Who do you think is the most underrated player in the league? So yeah, no more favorites. Underrated player that you think doesn't get enough love.
Underrated, man. Underrated player. I would say Jamal Murray.
I like that
Jamal
answer.
Murray.
I like that answer.
He's never been selected as an all-star, man. And he's literally torching the league. Not only is he doing it this year, but he's done it before. He just experienced an injury.
He just had the injury. Exactly.
I would say Jamal Murray at this point.
I think that's a great answer.
Definitely him, for sure, because he's played at an all-star level before. It's not like a Caleb Martin situation or like Gabe Vincent where like they just went crazy for a series and like, that was it. You know what I mean?
I think Jamal Murray's very
I would say Jamal
underappreciated.
Murray for sure.
I like that answer. LeBron or Jordan? Who's the best player?
Oh, that's tough. That's so tough. Oh man. Whew. Yo, I would say I don't like the ring conversation, so we're not gonna look at rings because
I
if you
didn't.
look at
I asked
rings,
LeBron or Jordan. That was
if
it.
you look at rings, Bill Russell is the best.
Fair enough.
So I would say LeBron.
The old school guy goes with
I
LeBron.
would
You
say
heard it here
LeBron.
first.
Yeah. I would say LeBron.
I
and
would
that
yeah.
scoring leader, I never thought that would be broken.
Mm-mm.
I was like, Kareem got that on lock. Like I was like, you know how like good you have to be at a certain point in your career. Like at 38 years old to pass that is crazy.
Yeah.
But I would say the one advantage that LeBron had over everybody is that he started out after high school.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very hard to beat his record.
now because people
People come out of college.
Yep. Exactly.
You know, so if there was anybody, it was going to be his era because they came in at 18.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Have you seen, speaking of new guys coming in the league, have you seen this Victor Wembanyama specimen?
Yeah, I have.
What do you think? Is he gonna be living up to the hype, or is he a bust?
I don't think he'll be a bust, but I feel like people put so much on these guys that are like,
really do.
you know how young you are, like, coming into the league?
He's
You're like
19 years
18, 19, 20 years old. Like, that's a lot of pressure, man, especially on a team where, like, Greg Popovich is going to be retiring probably soon. Like,
Yeah, he's got maybe 2 or 3 more good years in him.
Yeah, man. It's
I
like,
think them
dude.
getting Wembanyama maybe gave him an extra year. Just
because he's like, I want to at least have him on the right path before
Yeah,
I leave.
before-
Maybe give him
exactly.
a season or two and then
Right.
just retire, man.
right, because he's getting up there. He's getting old.
But yeah, Victor Wembanyama, I don't know, man, because I don't even.
His game fascinates me.
It fascinates me, but I'm like, I don't know. As his build, I feel like he could be injury prone if he doesn't like beef up a little bit.
Like a Chet Holmgren situation recently. Like
Like
they're
Chet
similar.
Holmgren, everyone was hyping him up, and he just gets hurt like in
Yeah.
a summer league game. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't think it'll be a thing of talent. I think it will just be a thing of injuries.
Attrition, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's different when you get to the league. Like, look at AD. Like, AD gets hurt just a finger touched on him. And he's out for like 2 to 3 weeks, and he's actually built muscle. So
Right,
imagine
right.
somebody at his age.
Yeah.
That could either make or break you as a player.
Agreed. The one person I will say that I thought that was going to happen, but surprised me it hasn't as much yet, knock on wood, is Giannis. Because Giannis did look about not as maybe as skinny as Wembanyama did when he came into the league, but like, I mean, if you look at Giannis coming into the league versus what he looks like now, he's a big, like, his shoulders are now the size of our heads versus like he was rail thin when he came into the league.
exactly.
So there is hope. I hope, like, with a proper nutrition and weight program diet, like, hopefully that all works for Victor. But he also is 7'5". Like, he's way bigger than Giannis. He's like almost 6 inches taller than Giannis.
That's the thing, though. But I look at that, and I look at guys like Manute Bol, rest in peace. I look at guys like Yao Ming.
I was about to say Yao Ming too. Like,
Dude, they
injury,
just struggled with
direct.
injuries. When
Yeah.
you're like that tall, I think there's this thing called like gigantism or something like that. When you're that tall, your body is just like, even Andre the Giant, I think he had that.
He did, yeah. And it's always with your
It's
feet,
just,
especially in basketball.
like,
It's always the feet.
Damn, dude.
It's always
yeah,
the feet.
That's why I don't think it would be a thing as far as talent. It would be a challenge for him just as far as nutrition. I think he has all the talent in the world, all the skills. Just got to kind of put it all together and make sure
He
his
stays
body's
healthy.
ready to go.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because obviously the French league is going to be a lot different than the NBA.
Yeah, than
It's
the
gonna be-
NBA.
It's going to be a lot more
Like-
physical. And, I do hope for good things for Victor Wembanyama. I think he's going into a good situation in San Antonio. I'm so happy he's going there and not, like, Charlotte.
Yeah,
or,
like where he can try to form a super team. Like, let him develop.
Yeah,
Let him help another
I-
franchise.
Yeah, or either that. I didn't want him to go to Houston. I'm glad he's going to. I wanted him either in San Antonio or Portland. Those were the two places I would have liked to see him. I would have liked to see him with Dame, but
I
at the
prefer him to be alone.
Yeah,
Just do your thing on your own.
build
and
around
develop.
him and let's
You
see
know
how
what I
let's see
mean?
how good he really is. Yeah, I agree. I like it. I definitely want to brush up a little bit. We're going to talk more about this, but since you being a photographer, like, what's your favorite like thing to take photos of? Are you like a nature guy? Do you like taking headshots? Like, when you take photos, like what really excites you in terms of like photography? To like, is it scenery? Like,
So photography, it came for me at a certain point. I would say around the pandemic is when I realized, like, I need more pictures. Just as far as like, for my feed. So I really was reaching out to photographers and stuff like that, but it really got to a point where I was like, man, instead of like spending all this money on like photographers and like, what if I don't like the way the pictures come out? What if I don't like the way they were edited and I just got to live with it? You know what I mean? Like, it got to a point where I was like, if I just invest like $600, $700 in a good camera and then get like a $300 lens, I could do this all on my own. Like, I don't need any.
Like,
all I need is somebody to just be there and take the picture for me. And shoot, they might even get free pictures themselves. Like, I could do pictures for them while they're at it. So it's like, it just got to a point where that was really my my main goal. But as far as like pictures in general, I would say like I like taking landscape. Just about anything. Like, I could take a picture like that. I have a couple of city photos that I took of Boston and also downtown Providence.
Dope.
I've done a couple of photo shoots, like a photo shoot that I did for my good friend Anthony. He has a apparel business, so he does a clothing company called So Boss Apparel. I did a photo shoot for them on my it's a relatively small page, Tyler Visuals. You can find it on my Instagram tag.
We'll link it in the description actually for you.
But yeah, it's a relatively small Instagram profile I've just been building up of stuff I've done for friends that either need photos taken or just when I'm bored. I might be in the arcade. I took a couple of photos in the arcade a couple of weeks ago and did some edits on them just to show my range and what I could do as a photographer as well.
Dope.
But it's something I really do just in my free time at this point,
Awesome. Your song Mood was featured on 98.1 in 2020. What was it like to be on the radio for the first time?
That was crazy, man. And I was really like, at that point, I was really a young buck. I mean, I'm still a young buck, but at that point, like, it was just really just me playing around and doing shows in Boston. It wasn't really, I didn't really have more so a structure. I didn't really know the type of artist that I wanted to be. I was just making music. And basically how that came about was my good friend G Weeks. His girlfriend actually worked on the radio.
Okay.
And she heard that song one time when I was in a studio session with him. She was like, yo, like, we gotta at least get this on the radio a couple of times. So it wasn't even really a thing of me like reaching out to people. It was just more so a gift,
like a circumstance.
And I was like, man, like, I really appreciate that. I remember the night they played it for the first time. I was like, man, that's dope. Like, I would have never imagined to be on the radio.
That's pretty cool.
Like, it was really cool.
That's
So it inspired me to keep going.
I love that. So you've covered songs from like ranging from Usher, Adele, Justin Timberlake, Wizkid most recently, as you mentioned. What's like the favorite song you've ever covered?
Favorite song I've ever covered?
Without thinking about it too much, but
it's gotta be Bobby Caldwell. Nothing touches that.
What You Won't Do for Love. Love it. A song that you'd like to cover that you haven't yet.
A song that I would like to cover that I have not covered yet would be, man, these are some tough ones. Man, I would say definitely a song from Beyonce. I'd probably say Halo by Beyonce. That would be a challenge.
That would be.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see it from like how a male sounding voice
Yeah,
would,
you know what I
how
mean.
that would
be
go
a
up.
challenge for me.
Cool.
Because I feel like a lot of male songs, it's like really easy for me to do. But definitely a song where I have to like test out a higher range for sure.
Cool. Awesome. Well, there you go. Pop quiz. You, I think you received a passing grade at the very least, if not an A. So well done to you. Congratulations to you. Applause. I do want to just quickly touch on a couple more things before the final segment of the show. Really, what's going on for you long term? So, any like new music you're working on at this point, or
new music? I've really been trying to, I would say, experiment with more sounds. So I'm still on the lookout for, new producers as well. The producers that I have, I've been working with them for a little bit, but I always like to work with new people. So I'm still currently finding some new producers, and I plan on releasing at least one or two more songs this year, and I want to get a video in as well. But yeah,
awesome,
definitely
awesome. Well, guys, make sure you be on the lookout for Derek's any of his new music. For sure, make sure you guys check that out, and obviously the link in the description for any of the his most recent songs like Time Is Right and Imagine. Man, it's been a great episode. Thank you so much for coming down and being here, making the drive. This has been a lot of fun and very unique experience for me to have somebody that, obviously I know you're from Boston, but living in Providence now, I feel like you brought a different perspective here, and I appreciate that. I do have time for one more question, and this is usually my favorite question to ask, and usually artists' favorite question to ask. This is the open response segment of the show, and in the open response, any of our recurring listeners know this is the dream song scenario. So you get a song that's a Derek Tyler song, and it can be produced and have any features that you want, anybody dead or alive. So I'll structure for you. You get 1 to 2 producers to produce that song, and you get 3 guest artists, dead or alive, who would be on Derek Tyler's dream song scenario. Take as much time as you need.
All right. So for my dream song, as far as producers, first would be Quincy Jones.
Ooh.
For my dream song. Quincy Jones, definitely. You said 2 producers, right?
You get 1 to 2. Yep. If you
1
want
to
just
2.
Quincy, that's fine. If you want to add someone else with that production as well, you may.
So I would say Quincy Jones, and also I'd go with Timbaland.
Ooh,
Timbaland,
that'd be an interesting pairing.
That'd be a different one, because I feel like Timbaland they can kind of balance each other out. Whereas you see Timbaland has worked with Justin Timberlake a lot, and he's made a lot of his sounds basically still have that oomph, like the soul, but at the same time it's still modern enough to appease to the younger crowd.
Definitely.
During the time of his records being released that were really big. So I would say Quincy Jones, Timbaland for the producers. Artists. So I would definitely have Chris Brown.
Okay.
As one of my artists on there. Michael Jackson. The third one is very tough. Very tough. That third one's tough. I'm gonna have to go with let's go with Beyonce.
Ooh. Little female energy on that.
Yeah.
There you go. I like that.
Beyonce, Michael, and Chris.
Damn.
I think that'd be a really good collaboration.
I would hope so. I would think so. You heard it here first, guys. Derek Tyler featuring Chris Brown, Michael Jackson, and Beyonce, produced by Quincy Jones and Timbaland.
Yes.
I think it would be a hit.
Thank you.
Fantastic, man. We manifest at Turntable Teachers. That's what we do here. So who knows? Maybe someday that will be a chart topping.
Never know.
You never know. Derek, thanks so much for being here, man. This was so much fun. I appreciate having you for real and you being here. Nothing left to do but plug away. So let people know where they can find you, socials, anybody you want to shout out, anything like that you want to plug. Go for it.
All right. Well, as far as finding me online, you guys can find me at Derek the Gifted. That's gonna be DEREK the Gifted, and that's gonna be on all platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me by that handle everywhere. shout out to my boy J Cal. Shout out to everybody that has produced my records. Really appreciate you guys, and it's what led me to this point. So, I really appreciate all the help from everyone along the way. And most importantly, thank you for having me on the platform once again.
Of course, man. If you're a fan of Derek Tyler, just coming on to us for the first time, you can follow us at Turntable Teachers on Instagram and TikTok. Head to our website, turntableteachers.com, for all the latest blogs, podcast episodes, merch. And like I said, make sure that you hit us up at AOA Studios on Instagram, aoastudios.org if you are a vocalist, artist, podcaster, producer. We've got a ton of specials and service on our services for the rest of the summer and into the early fall. Make sure you guys take advantage of those. And yeah, that's it, man. Thanks again for an awesome episode. Really appreciate you having you coming by, Derek. As always, I'm Mike. That's Derek with the Turntable Teachers, and class is officially dismissed.
Turn.